The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
There we go. A very good afternoon to you and welcome to the Locker Room. And no, you're not seeing things. It's an early start for us now. We're not on at 3 o'clock. The big bossy said to me at half. The big bossy said to me up the stairs, "You better go on at 2:30." So I said, "Right, okay, I'm not arguing with you then." So, new time for Sunday afternoon, 2:30 until 4 o'clock. So that means a big show, meaning big people involved in the game. So we've got a big team of experts today. We've got a kind of disappointed Robbie after last night's performance against Celtic. We'll get to that later on. And a kind of bit on the fence for Alistair today. Maybe a decent point up at Dens Park yesterday. And joined by Reagan as well later on in the show. Guys, how are you?
Well, lost for
that's a good way to put it. Disappointed to obvious word, but I mean, what an Edinburgh derby we've all just sat down and watched. I mean, that was an absolutely amazing game of football.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, Michael.
No, I was just going to say it's all classic phrasing football. Alice got a game of two halves.
Yeah, and Hibs deserve to win, I think, at the end of the day. I don't know what you guys think, but I think because their second half performance deserve to win. You know?
And we saw what, well, I was going to say we saw one of the goals of the season, but I better not say that to Alice. We've already had a bit of a fight in the chat about that. Don't worry, there's no, we're not involving the police because we've got Des Rotsky talk out in the chat. So I think it was a nuss meat straw. Alice, I think it was a non-fight.
No, it's quite clear. It was possibly the second best goal of the season. The wee boy Gordon's goal for Brecon against Hearts was much better.
So, yeah, I mean, let's talk about the game then, guys. If you've just tuned in without watching the game, I don't know why, because you've actually missed a belter before the Edinburgh Festival Cup comes up. It was Hibs 2, Hearts 2, and it was brilliant scenes at the end, Robbie, when they were singing Sunshine on Leaf as well. Brilliant. There we go. Brilliant start to the game from what was it? 2 goals in 2 goals in 9 minutes.
Yeah, it was a really quick start of the game. I think it's what we all sort of anticipated, to be honest. We said on the show it was either going to be a really quick game, a lot of goals, or it was going to be 0-0. Thankfully, it wasn't a 0-0 game. We actually have goals to talk about. It was a fast start for both teams. I thought they got right at each other. Obviously, Boyle opens up the scoring inside 5 minutes. A really nice work goal, actually. I thought Boyle took it really well. Then George Grant equalises pretty quickly after that, and you're gone at that point. All right, this could be anyone's game. I actually expected there to be more goals, to be honest. I wasn't, but I thought in terms of the first half, actually, I know you said about a game of two halves, but I actually thought Hibs were probably the better team, edged it in the first half as well. I thought they really took home crowd to their advantage. We said that on the show on Friday about the home crowd's going to be so important in this game. It was. You can see the crowd getting right behind them for the first whistle. So I think Hibs overall probably deserve to win.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I don't know what you think, Michael, but I mean, I didn't see the first half because I was still coming back from Perth because I was at a supporters' dinner last night. So I had it on the radio, which makes it more difficult to judge. But you get a feel, but you get influenced. I don't know what you guys think. You get influenced by the pundits. So they had John Robertson and John Collins, who obviously got their own biases. But to be fair to them, I think they called it pretty well. And then I saw the second half when I got home. And I agree with, Hibs, as I said earlier on, Hibs deserved to win. Hearts just weren't, they were just that, Hibs were just more up for it, which in a derby makes all the difference, I think. And you could see that in the second half, And there's not that much between the teams, really, but Hearts were sitting back and they just weren't quite at the races compared to Hibs today. And on that basis, Hibs deserved to win. Straightforward. Sorry, Hearts fans. Sorry, Graham, if you're watching.
I'm going to make a big call, guys, right? And Alistair might maybe agree with me here or disagree with me here as well. okay, we saw one of the goals of the season. Personal opinion. I've got back off today. I'm only doing it for Alistair's benefit. But also as well, guys, I don't know about you, but I think okay, might not get it because it'll be Brendan Rodgers or whoever won the manager of the year. But I think you could safe to say that David Gray is up in the running because at the beginning of the season we were like that. Well, how many games until David Gray loses his job? And look, Robbie has turned it round.
I mean, the obvious candidate for manager of the year will always be Rodgers at Celtic or anybody at Rangers if they have a top of the league. That is just how it tends to work. But if you actually look at the story of Hibs, look at where they were after the first month or two of the season, both made the league. People were saying, "Look, this relegation's a real threat here." To then turn that around, give David Gray a lot of time. And he has turned it around really well. Now they're pushing for third now. It's looking like, we said it on the show on Friday that whoever wins this had a really good chance of getting third. It looks like Hibs are going to be that team that can push on now. So, I mean, if you're looking at that sort of standpoint, I would argue that David Gray probably should win it. It's, you just look at the story for 12 after a couple of months battling relegation to now up into third place. I mean, look, it probably will be Rodgers that wins it, and that's when we put conspiracy theories that they always get to a Celtic manager. I would never do that, of course. But they will. I think they really should consider David Gray here.
Yeah, there's no conspiracy theories at all. I mean, it's nonsense to say that it's fixed. I mean, the fact that Steven Gerrard got it when Callum Davidson won 2 trophies for first time with St Johnson just shows you that it's not fixed, So on that basis, yeah, you're absolutely right. Rodgers will win it. They deserve to win it on the basis of he's got a team that's got 20 times as much money as most of the rest of them. Sorry, I'm being cynical here, guys, but you know where I'm coming from.
Actually, tend to agree with the two of you. But I don't think it'll be David Gray. I think it'll be John McGlynn. I think John McGlynn will win the championship, and for him to get back to promotions and get Falkirk in the Premier League, it was only a few years ago. Me and Michael were doing this show, and people were saying, "Is that a question? Is that an answer?" Remember that one, Michael, when they were talking about Falkirk being a mess in fan forums and stuff like that, and. Me personally, I think Falkirk will win the championship for between 5 and 6 points, and I think probably John McGlynn will be the manager of the year. But I do agree with what the two of you are saying.
Now, just to I'm trying my best, Alistair, to make it up to you, right? But you can go back to the shows that we did during lockdown, and me and Reagan and maybe Graham as well, we all were very surprised of Callum Davidson not winning the manager of the year because winning a double outside of the top two, it's never been known before in Scottish football, and for him not to be the manager of the year was a bit kind of, well, I was going to say disgraceful, but yeah, but anyway, he never won the double, and he never won the manager of the year. And I spoke to him afterwards because I was doing an interview with him elsewhere, and he was disappointed. But if you gave him the choice of two, I think he would prefer to win the double rather than the manager of the year. But that would be nice if he won the manager of the year, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it doesn't alter the fact that I would use the word disgraceful, but I put an adjective in front of it, and the fact I agree with Reagan. I think the SFSA awards, John McGlynn won the manager of the year clearly, absolutely deserved to, and if he comes up 2 seasons in a row, and I think you're right, Reagan, there's a very good chance that they're going to win by a few points. That, to my mind, is much more of an achievement than, with the greatest respect, Celtic are going in the league from the day one because the Rangers are in a bit of disarray and Celtic have got more money. So if they didn't win the championship, then Celtic fans would be absolutely raging, and quite rightly so. So that's not a surprise. But bringing a team like Falkirk, you're a big team and have been in the doldrums for ages, up 2 seasons in a row. If he does that, is just phenomenal. and he absolutely should be the manager of the year. And it was really pleasing to me that the fans actually voted for him in the SFSA Awards, because that recognises that it's not just the big teams that actually have success. And it'd be exactly the same if it was St Mirren. If St Mirren won 2 cups, Robbie, you'd be raging if the manager wasn't manager of the year.
Aye, I mean, if Jim Goodwin never won manager of the year, if we did go on and win the 2 semi-finals and then win the cups, I would be human. But I mean, just to play devil's advocate a wee bit, on Celtic, I think Rodgers is in for a good shout for it this season, because he's not only steamrolling the league, 13 points clear, but you look at what he's done in European football with a Celtic team that's, based on the last sort of 5 to 10 years, haven't exactly been great in Europe. So to take that team through to a knockout game against Bayern Munich and nearly take them to extra time, I suppose Celtic fans would probably argue that deserves manager of the year. But again, I think if McGlynn won it, if he won the championship, I don't think anyone would complain.
So it finished Easter Road today. By the way, we went down a wee rabbit hole, as we always do on the show. 2 weeks between the Hibs and Hearts today. Reagan, it was a brilliant game to watch.
No, Michael, it finished 2-1.
2-1, yeah. I was that down. I was so much in the rabbit hole I couldn't get out of it. Yeah, 2-1 the Hibs, yeah.
I'm thinking about myself. Did I switch the radio or the telly off too soon?
That's why I was a little bit late, because I was enjoying Sunshine on Leaf. I was enjoying it, singing along to myself there. But I mean, it was just a great game. I thought the home team really fully deserved their 3 points. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I just felt as soon as Hearts scored, they didn't really offer much. I thought Cadden was brilliant. I thought that Mariah Wells was good. He put a good ball through, Robbie, for Martin Boyle. He probably should have done better. And also, I did have a little laugh when Sky decided to interview Shankland on the park at half time. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
What was that about?
They were asking him about 2 or 3 questions about how the match is going. I don't know. I was obviously you didn't watch it, but it was very, very cringe, very, very American football. Like they were saying, so just to tell us about how the match is going. I'm sorry, but broadcasters shouldn't be asking players how the match is going when they're walking up the tunnel to the dressing room in a derby game. I don't mean to be cheeky and be controversial, but I just find it really strange.
I couldn't agree more again. I mean, sadly, and speaking of somebody whose club's got an American owner, there's a move to try and do this. There's a move to try and get interview managers. It's nonsense. It's like you interview a star player after the goal. How did you feel when you missed the penalty and lost the game? The answer is, how do you think I felt, you stupid ... You know what I mean? It really doesn't make sense. It's such a stupid question. I know they're only doing their job, but not at half-time, guys. I mean, it's, apart from anything else, if I was the manager of Hearts, I would be really annoyed it's getting in his player's head, because he could get asked something which actually makes him either annoyed or whatever. It shouldn't happen. End of story. After the game, yeah, no problem. Not during the game.
I know that, Reagan, I don't know if you remember last season, they done it as well. I think it was Boxing Day. I think it was the game. It was at Easter Road, and the Sky cameras were when was it the Hibs or Hearts dressing room at half time, showing you a webcam.
Remember they were going to make up Nick Montgomery for the full game, and then both clubs knocked it back.
I mean, could you imagine them doing that, Reagan, at Tottenham, Man City, or Liverpool, Man U? That's how much they kind of rate Scottish football, guys. Take it as a tin pot kind of league and all that. Anyway, that's enough of my Sky bias over for today. There'll be more next week on the show where I will be talking about a certain commentator. Anyway, going back to the game, guys. I mean, I thought I know Cabangu scored a couple goals last week against St Johnson, and he nearly scored a few. Well, he still got a hat trick against Rangers. We get 10 cards for Alaska, but I thought him and obviously you were talking about Shankland. I thought that all of the Hearts team, big team players, were kind of off it to you.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Shankland over the season, and I don't know what you guys think, but he is clearly, he's had a couple of absolutely fabulous seasons, and he's gone off the boil. Now, that may just be that I can think of, I'm sure with your own clubs, you can think of players who've had a couple of great seasons, and then they just sort of disappear. I mean, Stevie May's the obvious one in the case of St Johnson, but you kind of wonder if Shankland will get it back, or if he's got a new manager. I can't see. We've talked endlessly about where he might go to Rangers, all this kind of stuff. I mean, looking at him just now, would you seriously, if you were a bigger club, want to buy him? He's not really contributing a huge amount. I don't know. What do you think? I just think that, yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm using him as an example, but if your big players don't turn up in a derby, or if your players generally don't turn up in a derby, you lose, because it's that thing we were saying earlier on. Hibs wanted it more,
I think Shankland looked. I think the right word's lazy. I think there was points during the game where he's strolling around the pitch, not really paying attention. I'm like, this is a derby game. This is the big game. You need to be up for this. I think in terms of Shankland, I think one of the big changes for him this season has been he's not playing that number 9 role. He is playing in behind James Wilson most of the time. So for Shankland, it's not really as if he's an out-and-out number 9 now. He does actually need to do a bit of work in the middle and hold up the ball and try and play it through to Wilson. So I think he's done that all right so far. He has had a couple of good moments, but you're right. I think compared to the last sort of couple of seasons, he has been off the boil. I think on the actual game though, I don't know about you guys, but I thought Hearts subs were not just made too late, but I thought they killed the game. I thought bringing on, I think it was Vargas for Spittle. I thought that was a really odd substitution. I think one of the commentators said it that at the time that that sub really opened up Hearts midfield, and if Hibs could play their cards right, they were going to see the game out, which they did. So I think that Hearts subs really killed the game, but I also thought Hibs subs changed the game. I think Dylan Levitt was a big one for me when he came on. I thought he was really, really good during the game. So I think the game was really, made and done on subs, but full credit to Hibs. I thought, again, as we've mentioned, they really deserved that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of Hearts, I felt like they were really slow and sluggish throughout the game. I didn't really think they were really impacting the match. I think that'll be a big worry for the manager, because I don't think for me at the moment they'll be getting in the top 6, because I don't know who they play next, but after that they go to Central Park, and then there's only two games to go until we get into the split. So I just don't really see how they get into the top 6 for me. I think obviously we can get into it, but I think it'll be a really good final, Robbie, between Aberdeen and the Highways for third place.
They're playing Ross County next, by the way, Reagan, but at Dingwall, which I think will be difficult. And if you actually look at the table just now, it's actually, I mean, there's Celtic miles at the top, obviously, but you've then got Dundee United 40 points, Motherwell 37, Hearts 7th and 36, Ross County on 35. So Hearts playing Ross County, that's 7th against 8th with 1 point between them. So it's going to be really tight, because you never expected Motherwell to win yesterday. Well, I didn't. So I think we're looking at everybody from Motherwell down as potentially going to be in the bottom 6. Or even Dundee United could fall away if they had a couple of, if they had a bad run.
I wouldn't really say I didn't expect Motherwell to win yesterday, but I expected Rangers to get a better reaction, because of the Barry Ferguson thing. But I'm sure we'll get onto it. I mean, I don't know if you guys. It was interesting, because I was in the pub yesterday about 5:30, and the whole pub was singing Barry Ferguson. I thought it was in a Rangers pub.
We should say drink responsibly there, Reagan. No, but Robbie, so disappointed in Hearts' performance. But I mean, I think Hearts had a wee spell after they kind of equalised up to half time, and I suppose like that was it from Hearts today. It was all Hibs.
Yeah, I mean, even in that spell, I just don't think Hearts created enough. I thought they done to give Hearts credit. I thought they done well in Stoughton Hart. Wing backs. Cadden, I think it was both the Caddens that played at wing back. I think they done really well at shutting them down. To give them credit, but I actually thought Gerald Taylor had a really bad game. I thought some of the Hibs attackers were giving him a real tough time. Obviously, there was the penalty claim. I think it was near the end of the first half, or just into the second half, which obviously didn't get game. But I just don't think with the spell that Hearts had in that sort of first half after the equaliser that they done enough with it. I just think it was a really poor game in terms of Hearts actually being able to create any chances. I think to probably ask any Hibs fan, they'd probably say it was quite comfortable in terms of the way the game went, to be honest. I don't think they were troubled too much.
Wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't disagree. As I said all along, I think second half Hibs deserved to win it. First half, you could make the case that obviously, Hearts. I didn't see the first half, as I said before, so it's hard for me to say. But based on what the radio guys were saying, that really agrees with what you're saying, Robbie, as well. But I've said this all the way through the show. A derby match, you've got to be more up for it. If both teams aren't up for it, then the one who's got more get up and go is going to win. And you really look at that, you think, I thought Hearts would finish third this season. I actually thought the way they were coming through, but Hibs absolutely have slightly surprised me because they've got better and better and better. And you can't argue. If you look at the record, I can't remember how many games they've played and won or not lost. It's phenomenal. I think they're in the top 4 for form in Scotland just now. So just can't argue with that.
Is it up to 15 games for Hibs, I think, with it losing?
Yeah, it might be now, yeah. It's scary. Oh, and now for the inside track as to what went wrong. I think we're waiting with bated breath for the in-depth match side analysis here, Gail.
So I think that was the proverbial game of two halves, to be honest. I thought first half Hearts were the better side, having lost the opening goal. It's a great goal from Martin Bob, poor defending from Hearts, but we get straight back into it. And I thought for most of the first half, I thought Hearts actually controlled the game really well. I thought Benny was excellent. George Grant, who I'm not a massive fan of, played really well. And I thought we controlled the first half, but then second half, it completely changed. Hibs were the far better side. They looked like they've got more. I don't know what it was. They had more about them. We created nothing second half. I don't think the subs really made a difference. The second goal for me, it's a great goal, but I've got two issues with that. The first one is, why was Chris Cadden so much space on the right-hand side? It's poor defending for me. Yeah, and then the second one that I've got an issue with is Lawrence Shankland. Yeah. I know he was booked in the first half, but you've got to do something to put Jack Iredale off, and he does nothing. I thought it was lazy. I thought it was disgraceful. It's a great finish, don't get me wrong. It's a great finish. But you've got to do something to put him off. Give him a nudge, do something. And he does nothing. And for the whole second half, we created nothing. There was nothing at all in Jordan Smith's goal. It's now back-to-back wins in the double for Hibs since 2008, 2009. And you know what? They deserve both wins. The game at Tynecastle Boxing Day, they deserve to win the game. Today, on the basis of the second half, they deserve to win the game. But take aside the fact it's a derby, what was worrying me more was the fact that we're out the top 6 after yesterday's games. That was a big game today. We needed to win that game and get back in top 6. We've got 4 games to go. We've got Celtic in one of those games. We're not going to win that. So top 6 is looking more difficult now. We do have 2 home games which are winnable, but top 6 is going to be so close, and it could go to the last game against Motherwell, who've got a big result yesterday. That was a big result for Hearts today, and I thought we were very, very poor second half. But take nothing away for Hibs, they deserved it second half. We were not good enough.
Graham, do you not think though you've got a much bigger game before that? Because you're away to Dingwall next.
We're at home. That's at Tynecastle.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. I thought that was at Dingwall. Sorry, beg your pardon.
It's at Tynecastle. So that's one of our 2 home games that we should be winning. We need to pick ourselves up. We've got a Scottish Cup game against Dundee next week, a game that I'll be at. We need to pick ourselves up. But that second half was not good enough from Hearts. It wasn't good enough. Hibs obviously got in second at half time. David Gray's had a lot of harsh words, and rightly so, because a lot of Hibs were really poor first half. But second half, the better side. I can't take away from them, the better side second half.
Graham, I was mentioning the substitutions a wee bit ago, and I hope they were made too late overall, but I cannot believe Taylor played that full 90 minutes. I thought he was getting terrorised by that Hibs attack.
Mate, you and me both. We were on our group chats thinking, how is Taylor still on here? I mean, it was pretty clear early on that Hibs targeted that right-hand side, and Taylor was miles off it. You look at the first goal, it's a good ball over the top. We know Martin Boyle's pace, but Taylor's got to do more there. It was so poor, and I thought he looked miles off it all game. I know a lot of Hearts fans don't like Adam Forrester, but Taylor was awful all game. And I keep going back to the second goal. I can't believe the amount of space that Chris Cadden's in on that right-hand side. I mean, he had to feed them Easter Road. And when the balls come in, like I said, it's poor from me from Shanklin, but Hibs targeted the right-hand side. That was clearly the game plan. Get the ball out that side, and it worked. Gerald Taylor was awful all game.
And this is a guy who started off with your first game of the season against Rangers now and said, what a start.
I mean, I had the guy as a Ballon d'Or winner start the season. He was awful.
And I suspect he might be the Balloon d'Or rather than the Ballon d'Or after today, but
pretty much.
I'm just going to ask you what's happened to Shanklin, Graham, because he just seems to be way off it. I think the best thing he did today was talk to Sky during half time.
Do you know what? I didn't agree with that at all. Why are you doing that for a derby game? I thought that was really, really poor. Maybe it's just me, but I thought that was quite tin pot to do that at half time in a derby game. I never see that getting done anywhere else. I get it. It was like a charity match or a friendly game. But to do that in a derby game, I thought that was so poor from Sky to do that. And if I'm Shanklin, I'm saying, get away, I'm not doing that. But to be fair, Reagan, see the last few games, he's actually played quite well since he's come back. But today...
I thought he linked up well with in the St Johnstone game last week. But I just felt today he was just way off it.
I don't think the booking helped in the first half. I actually thought first half he was all right. He was working hard enough. He tried to link up. But it's that second goal I can't forgive because he does nothing to put Ardell off. Like I say, it's a brilliant finish. Take nothing away from it. But do something to put him off. Give him a nudge. Do something. He just stands there and does nothing. Yeah, it was really poor.
Graham, obviously, Crouchley's been in the job a good while now. You've got to see a lot of him. Judging after that game, is there still a lot of work you think Crouchley needs to do? Because I think, in these sort of games, you then need to make the changes at the right time. And look, managers will always make mistakes. Again, it's a human game, it happens. And I'm sure Crouchley will be the first to admit he probably got something wrong, after the game. But is there still a lot that, going forward, especially into the summer, that he needs to work on with that team and, bring more signings in and change a few bodies around?
100%, mate. And the right-hand side is a prime example of that. We don't have a decent right-back. Now, again, I like Adam Forrester. Maybe it wasn't a game for him today. I was happy that Taylor started, but Taylor was awful. That right-hand side is not good enough. If you look at the left, we've got the link-up with Penrith and Spittle. We don't have that on the right-hand side. There's nothing there. I think Critchley today, and I'm a fan of Critchley. I've seen a lot of folk criticise him today. I don't really think that's on him. That's on the players for me second half. They didn't do enough second half. I thought we were really poor. Benny, who I thought controlled the first half, kind of fell off second half, but that wasn't really his fault. But yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. If we can finish top 6, which I really hate saying this, but I think that has to be the aim this season. We have to try and finish top 6. 4 games to go is going to be difficult. If we can finish top 6 and then finish as high as we can, then fine. But I generally think that Critchley, and I know this already actually because I've been told this before, we have already got plans lined up for the summer. So there's a lot of work to be done already. The whole Tony Bloom, Jamestown stuff, that'll be a big influence on this. But we need to just try and get top 6 and then see what happens in the summer. But I genuinely think there'll be at least 7 or 8 players that leave and potentially as much come in, personally.
Graham, I was just going to say, obviously I know what it's like in Glasgow between Celtic and Rangers, and I presume it's the same in Edinburgh or Dundee for that matter. But if Hearts finishes below Hibs in terms of Hearts in the bottom six, and Hibs is in the top six, is that a kind of like disaster season for Hearts?
I wouldn't say disaster. It's football. You know, the thing is, I'm old enough and wise enough to know, and I'm always honest on this show. I said weeks ago Hibs will bottle it. Now, I'm probably going to be wrong about that. They're now 15 games unbeaten. For Hearts right now, I think the main aim is just to try and finish top six. We're 7 points behind Hibs. Now, things can change. Hibs have a great run, but they could easily do an Aberdeen and fall off. But Hearts need to try and be in there to catch up. We're 7 points behind Hibs now. But for me, I think the main aim right now is finishing top six. And I hate saying this because we should be finishing higher than that. If we finish below Hibs, it's football. It happens. I've seen it numerous times over the years. Hearts have finished above Hibs numerous times. Hibs finished above Hearts. It happens. The disappointing thing for me today is that second half performance was really, really poor. I'm intrigued to see what Neil Critchley says, because what I like about Critchley is he's very honest. He won't sugarcoat it. I think he will actually say that second half was not good enough. He will know that. So there's a lot of players could get called out today on that second half performance. But like I say, Hibs deserved their second half. They were the far better side. I can't say they weren't, because they were the better side second half.
I was just going to say, Graham, we touched upon it earlier on, and you mentioned it as well. Shankland getting interviewed at half time by Sky, and I did say to the guys before he came on, Sky creates Scottish football like a tin pot league as well. But I mean, if I was, obviously it's not Shankland's fault that the camera get put in his face. It's up to the Hearts PR team. He say, no, you're not interviewing Shankland at half time. I remember they'd done that. Remember, Graham, last season was at Easter Road during Christmas. Sky done that. They interviewed a player at half time, and I was saying to the guys before he came on, there was a camera in either the Hearts dressing room or the Hibs dressing room. But I mean, imagine doing that at a Liverpool Everton game or Liverpool Tottenham game. It's never known. So have you saw any of the Hearts fans giving stick to the team today, B also giving stick to Sky for putting a microphone in Shankland's face, even though it wasn't Shankland's fault?
Yes, I'm on a group chat with a lot of Hearts fans, and everyone said the same as me. You shouldn't be doing that for a derby game. Take it forward a couple of weeks. Celtic Rangers, the next derby game.
Do that. Yeah, sorry, Graham. I was just about to say they wouldn't do that at Celtic Rangers game.
Can you imagine in a couple of weeks' time at Celtic Park or whatever the game is, they interview Callum McGregor at half time? It wouldn't happen. Why are we doing it for Edinburgh derby? I've seen it numerous times for I get it for charity events. I get that. But this is Edinburgh derby. There's a lot at stake here, and you're interviewing a player at half time. What if we went in there a couple of goals down at half time? Then what? I just think, for me, that shouldn't happen in a derby game at half time. That is not acceptable for me. Now, obviously, maybe Lawrence Shankland's got his duties, they have to do it. But if that's me, I'm saying, sorry, I'm not doing this. It's half time in a derby game. I'm not doing this. I get, obviously, Shankland's the captain. I get why they've done it to him. But I think that was really, really tin pot. And I actually didn't listen to it. I turned it off at half time. I couldn't listen to that. I thought it was really poor. Yeah, for me, there's maybe games you do that for, maybe for a lower league game, but you don't do it for a live game on Sky for a derby game. I'm sorry, but you just don't do it.
You don't do it for any games, because it's simply not. You get in the player's head. Let's say they're losing. You just simply shouldn't be allowed. Full stop. Doesn't matter what level it's at, because if it's a serious professional game, these guys, this is their livelihood. This is their work. If you're at your work, you don't get the cameras come along and say, no, by the way, you made a miss of that contract, or what, you're going to go and take the boss. It just doesn't work like that. This is a public exposure of a guy's thoughts in the middle of a high-intensity football match. It just shouldn't happen. End of story. And I don't know who's responsible for it. I mean, Sky obviously, presumably, have asked for permission. Hearts surely have just said no.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, Hearts has got a big game coming up next week in the Scottish Cup game. How are they going to bounce back from this?
Well, to be fair to Critchley and to Hearts, the last time we lost the derby, we went on an unbeaten run. So we've done it before, and I think we have to do it again. and it's a big opportunity to get to Hampden. I'm taking my lad at the game next week, so he's got a nice Friday night. He's actually, I will say right now, I was meant to be at a charity game today in Falkirk for Alzheimer's Scotland, but I managed to miss it to watch the derby. I wish I hadn't actually bothered with that now. But my laddie's actually sent me numerous pictures of folk he's got pictures taken with. He's managed to get, he didn't even know who they were. He's messaged me to say, who's this? So he's got his picture taken with Nacho Novo, Mark Haitley, Alan Combe, and Sanjeev Kohli for Still Game. I really wish I had taken the chance to go now and get my picture taken with the guy for Still Game than sit and watch that derby game. But yeah, I mean, it's a big. I don't know how my wife didn't know who that was because she's watched Still Game as well. I don't know why she didn't know who that was. But honestly, it was. I think we'll bounce back. It's a cup game. It's at Tynecastle. Dundee's not been overly impressive. You've got a great chance to get to Hampden. Celtic are favourites for the cup, of course they are. But what an opportunity to get to Hampden. It's a big, big game, and I think Hearts will bounce back. And just before I go on, I know this is Hearts against Hibs, but I don't know if you talked about this already. But again, I've got to be in my bonnet about this. Yet again, yesterday, VAR has been an absolute joke, and it is happening every week. That St Mirren Celtic game. Now, I know that Johnson got a touch on the ball, but that follow through clearly catches the St Mirren player. It's a penalty kick.
Yep.
And when you've got guys like Neil Lennon, who's a Celtic man, Chris Sutton, who's a Celtic man, all saying it's a penalty kick. How are you getting that wrong? Yet again, it is every single week that we are getting big decisions wrong. And it worried me today. Thankfully, it didn't happen. But my worry today was that VAR was going to get involved in the game if we won because of VAR. It wasn't. But every single week now, we are hearing the KMI panel or Willie Collin coming out and saying, that was a mistake. I'm sorry. You cannot be making mistakes. I get it if you take VAR away and it's human error, fine. I get that. Understandable. But when you've got VAR there, you should not be getting that wrong. It is plain and simple. You cannot get that wrong. And I said it last week. I'm going on my high horse here. But I said it on the game on Wednesday. I said it on the game Hearts St Mirren on Wednesday night. The referee was like that in his ear every 5 minutes. VAR was getting involved in things they did not need to get involved in. They need to stop this. I'm not saying scrap VAR because it does work when it's used properly. But every single week now, we're on different radio shows, different panels talking about the fact that, VAR's getting involved. And yet again, it's another absolute joke. And yesterday again, and this is the last thing I'll say on this, I listened to Sports Sound yesterday, and I listened to Leanne Crichton, who is pointless, by the way. She actually said that red card on Wednesday for the St Mirren guy was not a red card. It's a yellow card because it's shoulder. I'm sorry, but Jamie McCarthy's lying there just about knocked out. What difference does it make if it's a shoulder? It is an endangering an opponent. If you're a pundit and you're sitting there thinking that's not a red card, you're an absolute disgrace. I'm sorry. I'm getting on my high horse, but I'm raging with it.
You can actually imagine Southern Grey looking at that Crystal Palace Millwall one and going, maybe he was going for the ball. You know
what? See, just on that, I heard Joey Barton say that's a foul by Mateta. I mean, seriously, what are you doing with it?
I didn't know that.
We've got a special guest coming on today. Leanne Crichton is in the weight room as we speak, Graham. So I don't know if you want to stay on or get off your high horse.
I would, because I was furious for that when I heard that.
They said Merry Christmas. Oh no, it wasn't Merry Christmas. They said something else before that. I can't.
Honestly, how do these pundits get paid for a job like that? I could do that in 2 minutes. It's not difficult.
Graham, do you know what the really serious thing is, though? The serious thing is that these are people who do not know the laws of the game. They have to have a referee, a qualified senior referee, go over the games with Sports Scene beforehand. They still, Michael Stewart in particular, I know because I know one of the guys who did it, still punts out his usual nonsense. They don't know the laws of the game. And what's even worse is that we believe some of these kind of people are actually sitting on the VAR review panel. That is an absolute disgrace. Now, I was at the Saints fans Fair City Saints dinner last night, and they had a panel of guys going back to Ormond's team right up to Tommy Wright's team. And there's a question about VAR, and there's a question about league reconstruction. And these are guys who are professionals who've gone way back in the day. The consensus of the room was one guy at the back who shouted a word that's rhymed with right when VAR came up, right? And all the panel said, just get rid of it. It's just spoiling the game.
Was it Tommy Wright, Shaky Wright?
Do you know the worst thing yesterday, apart from Leanne Crick saying it wasn't a red card, is the fact that I was agreeing with Willie Miller. I mean, that is how bad yesterday was.
I've got Kath Reagan or Robbie. Do you want to mention anybody else's name? Because Alex and Graham mentioned two names. I'm not participating in this race.
Oh, I can keep going, trust me.
No, it's okay, Graham. I want to keep my job. Yeah. So just before we move on and just before we get into Sophie Bubble, that cough is coming back again. Hibs won by 2-1 to get Robbie. How will they approach the game next week? Because they're going to Celtic Park, knowing they beat Celtic last week and they were outstanding last week against Celtic, but it's a different kettle of fish going to Parkhead next week, but they'll be buoyant by the one to get against Hearts.
I mean, Hibs should approach a game with confidence. They have every right to be. Obviously, beating Celtic, I know it was at Easter Road, so it will be a different game. Am I right in saying Hibs have been given an allocation of 7,000 for that game?
They have been, eh?
Yeah, so I'm assuming they'll probably sell that out. That'll be a really good attendance going through there. They should be full of confidence to go win that game, but there's absolutely no reason why Hibs can't win this game. Look at it. We'll go on to Celtic in a bit because obviously the game that happened yesterday, I get that they won, but I don't think I'm being too controversial in saying that Celtic haven't been great since that Bayern Munich game. I think there was a lot of quality. I think there was a lot of quality for certain players in the game yesterday, but overall, again, I thought Celtic, particularly in the first half, I thought they were very poor. So I think for the game next week, I think if Hibs go up to Celtic Park and they can make it tough for Celtic and take the big thing is taking their chances. Hibs need to be on the ball. They can't miss as many chances as we did yesterday anyway, because they'll have no chance. But if they can go there, stop Celtic in attack, because that's the key thing. Celtic are scoring goals for fun right now. So if they can go up there and make it difficult for Celtic and take their chances, I fancy Hibs that they can go in and get through in the cup. And I think what a season that would be for David Gray. I mean, we were speaking about manager of the year earlier. If David Gray could find his way into a Hampden trip here with Hibs, I mean, you've got to give him manager of the year at some point, because he'd have a real chance of going on to win that cup. There'd be no reason why Hibs wouldn't be favourite for them.
Okay, let's move on to, and we need to move on. Oh, sorry, Alistair, are you going to mention anybody else's name?
A wee snippet for you, just which may or may not be true, but it's one of these things you pick up from various sources, which you're talking about Hearts and who they might buy at the end of the season. Hibs, there is a very strong rumour going around Perth that Kimpioka might be going to Hibs.
Oh.
All right, and they signed Jimmy McGrath as well, Graham, didn't they?
They did. For a full year deal, I think.
That'd be a good signing. No, I thought you were going to say Alistair, Hearts are signing Leanne Clayton. Anyway, let's move on to the game before we come back to the game last night at New St Mirren Park or whatever. What can they call it now, Robbie? You can't call it New St Mirren Park because they've been in it for about 10 years.
It's been a few names. The Paisley 2021 Stadium was the recent one, but I think it's now called the Smizer Stadium. I think that's what we call it now.
Yep.
So Graham has got a romantic meal with Michael Stewart. He's away now, so we'll let Graham put his makeup on. I was actually getting worried, guys, for a minute. I thought, oh no, here we go. Anyway, let's move on to Ibrox yesterday, and it was a homecoming for Barry Ferguson that wasn't expected. Rangers won, Motherwell 2. It's back-to-back win for Motherwell at Ibrox. Worrying time for Rangers, Alistair, as well, but I was saying to you before the game that Barry Ferguson got introduced to the fans before the game, and it wasn't. It was short lived because after a few minutes, Motherwell scored, and I thought overall Motherwell deserved to win the game. Rangers were quite poor yesterday.
Yes, I think that's true. I mean, I've only seen the highlights, and obviously the highlights give you a select view of of what the producer wants you to see. All the goals were mistakes, effectively. They were from poor defending, and that, to my mind, also sums up part of the problem with Scottish football. You've got people making really bad mistakes. There's 3 mistakes in the game, 3 goals. Rangers had chances, but didn't take them, and maybe this is a bit unfair, but a bit like Hearts today. They sort of huffed and puffed, but just didn't really look like they could blow the house down. Whereas Motherwell, they got the breaks, which they absolutely did. Butland spilling that first one, you wouldn't put money on that because he's a good keeper. And then the mistake for the second goal as well, letting them in, and Sparrow, good finish. Rangers have clearly got problems. When it was 2-0, see the last game, when it was 2-0 at half time, or it was 2-1 rather. I mean, we're looking at our phones and going, Rangers are losing 2-0, can't believe this. And then on Saturday, again, the same thing. People saying, what the half-time score is? 2-0 Motherwell at Ibrox. Really? Is that right, And you kind of expected Rangers would come back because you're obviously not there, but you're thinking Rangers at Ibrox will come back. They didn't seem to have the wherewithal, and you had the sad sight in many respects of Tavernier, who's been a fabulous servant, getting caught out for the first goal,
By the way, I don't know about you guys, right, but you mentioned Jack Button and Gallagher, right? And he had a brilliant goal, he had a brilliant game in Manchester until he sold the jerseys in the last kick of the ball. But I don't know if you would agree with me, guys, that the confidence is shot away from Jack Button in the past few weeks.
Yeah, the only thing. Sorry, Regan, on you go.
No, I was just going to say, I watched the first 45 minutes, and even when he was playing the game, I just think he really likes a lot of confidence, like you said, Michael. And I know people were saying it's because his wife had a baby, and he had the internal bleed on his leg and stuff like that. But that was a few weeks ago now. Even that goal yesterday, I watched it live. I watched the first 45 minutes and then I headed off to the pub. And I think in terms of that Rangers performance, it was very, very poor. I mean, I don't know what it is, guys, but I just think some of the players are just not up to the standard of Rangers. You look at Proper, you look at Tavernier. I mean, I don't know, fair play to Tavernier, but I don't know how the guy's made it into the Rangers Hall of Fame. He's won one league title since he's been there. The Rangers have won 3 trophies out of the last 42. 3 trophies out of the last 42 for a club that's like the Rangers. People keep saying, Celtic's got a lot of money, that's why Celtic are winning. But as Arsenal know, you look at the teams that have won trophies instead of Rangers. St Johnson, you look at Hibs in 2016. Inverness, and people keep talking about Rangers. This is going to be the same for years. Rangers have struggled to beat St Johnson. They've struggled to beat Hibs for years upon years. And as Robbie and Alison know, the budget that Rangers have got is superior to teams like St Johnson and St Mirren. It's massive. So I don't get people saying last week, this will be the same for years because Rangers are not good. I bet Rangers should still be good enough to pose a challenge to St Mirren. I watched the full 90 minutes of that game last week, and I thought St Mirren were in complete control as much as Rangers had the ball. But Rangers don't know how to. They don't know how to deal with pressure. That's the last 3 games at Ibrox. They've not won a game. I mean, that's the first time since 2012. And I don't need to remind Rangers fans what happened in 2012. So I just feel like I don't know what it is, guys. Did you think it's sort of nerves when you get into Ibrox? Because I just find it astonishing that every time they go to Ibrox, they seem to be getting beat at the moment.
Well, who came out with Robbie? Who came out with a statement a few weeks ago? It was a Rangers player, I can't remember his name, and he says that we get nervous at Ibrox. Now, if you were a Rangers fan listening to that, you would be A, embarrassed him saying that on national radio, but B, he should never pull on a jersey against the Rangers.
Sorry to butt in, Michael. There's been a big goal up at Aberdeen, and it's Jim Goodwin is getting one back at his old club. Dundee United have just scored from a corner. A great ball in, a great header.
I'm just going to pretend that goal never happened because my thoughts on Jim Goodwin now. But no, Mike, I think Barry Ferguson summed it up last night in his post-match reaction that there is a nervousness at Ibrox, that there seems to be a problem playing in front of the home crowd, which you can see it when you watch them. I don't think it's just the home crowd. I think when you look on the pitch, you're looking at a Rangers defence that's made up of right backs and left backs, or the back four. It's not a stable back four, and I think that maybe plays into why Butland's so void on confidence right now. If Butland can't trust his back four and the back four can't trust Butland right now, that creates issues before you even get to the midfield and attack. So I think there's problems all the shot for Rangers now. I think Motherwell were fully deserving of the 3 points. I thought, although the stats, of course, are going to swing in Rangers' favour, I don't think they created any critical chances. Balcom had a really easy game. There was every shot Rangers were hitting was right down his throat. So I think there is obviously problems at Rangers. I mean, the only time I've seen a goalkeeper this void of confidence that springs to my mind is when we lost 5-2 to Kilmarnock and Zach Kemmen was in goal last season. The confidence, that goalkeeping in football is arguably the hardest position because it is so based on confidence. 1 week you could keep a clean sheet, make a few good saves, and you're high on confidence. And the next week you let in a couple of really bad ones, and it's your confidence is shot. So I think that's a problem for Jack right now. I just don't think he can get any sort of form of confidence right now just because the way Rangers are playing. But there definitely is a problem with playing in front of that Ibrox now.
And let's go see going back at the beginning of the season, like Kearney and Dessers, and maybe I would say Diamonde was scoring goals for fun, but now they're not scoring goals. In fact, they missed some brilliant chances yesterday as well in the game. But see how, like, going back on the point about I don't know if you saw on social media, Alaska, when Clement left, all the Rangers fans were saying, well, now we can judge the team. Now we can say if Philip Clement was a poor manager or if we've got a poor team. But I mean, looking at that game yesterday and last week, you must argue the point that wasn't Clement. This is on the team. It's a poor Rangers team.
It's funny you should say that because I was talking to a friend of mine about who's not a Rangers or Celtic fan, he's a Raider Rovers fan as it happens. And he was making the point that he actually thinks Clement had been fairly hard done by. He's not actually that bad a manager, and he's actually done quite a good job at Rangers. And I think you've hit a very important nail on the head there, Michael. It's quite probably the team, not necessarily the manager. And that comes down to money and all sorts of stuff. Now, this is not tittle-tattle. This is not conspiracy theory because I actually know the person involved. Somebody who on the training staff at Ibrox has been let go, and that's I think it's about 50 grand saving in salary. So they're doing that because they obviously need to cut back on costs. That would be my, so on that basis, they're struggling financially if they're having to do that kind of thing.
Well, sorry to cut across the Alistair, but I've been making this point to a few folk, and I don't know if you heard this as well. And when I've said this to another couple of pals of mine, they say, no, he wouldn't have done that. I've heard Philip Clement has basically gave some of his payoff back to Rangers. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I haven't heard that, no. I don't know. But I mean, they're obviously... They've still got lots of money. There's the possibility of this 49ers thing coming in. That's something for another show, I think. I don't subscribe to the view that you have to have a big Celtic Rangers. You have to have much more competition to have a good league. And just now we've got no competition. So it's not actually a very exciting competition unless you're a Celtic fan. if you're a Rangers fan who expect to be up there, it's incredibly frustrating. And that goes back to Robbie's point. They'll get on the players' backs. And that, of course, breeds further. It's a circular and cumulative downward spiral. So the players make a mistake. And again, I agree with Robbie on this. The goalkeeper is the most vulnerable person in the team, because if he makes a mistake, everybody gets on his back. But if a striker misses, like there was Desser's yesterday, it was one of his headers was like a threepenny bit. It was a cross from the left, and he headed it nearly went it with a corner flag, and yes, he'll get a bit of stick, but nothing like the stick that Butland will get for making that mistake. And keepers do make mistakes, but they get far more attention as a result of it. And that's why I think I agree with Robbie. It's probably the most difficult position. But you then compound that by playing in front of 50,000 people. And I go back to, the kind of things which encapsulate all the things we've been talking about. At the dinner last night, they were asking some of the old guys like Darren Dodds and John O'Neill, the hardest players you played against. And these guys are citing louder up. They're citing Larson. These are players who are miles better than anything that Celtic and Rangers have got just now, which kind of shows you the standard of Scottish football at that time. So it's not as good as it was. Fans are frustrated. We are punching our weight in Europe. I accept that. Celtic are doing relatively well. But overall, you look at the standard, it's not that good. And Rangers are buying guys from Championship in England. I mean, I'm old enough to remember them bringing Terry Butcher in. They're bringing in Chris Woods, Terry Butcher, England captain.
But they're never going to be able to bring the guys in again.
No, but neither can Celtic. So I mean, but Rangers are, I think, are in a worse position, and I would have no problem at all with any club who actually says, look, we've got lots of money, we're going to buy lots of players, do what Celtic are doing, we're being successful. Why shouldn't we? You're a business, you're trying to maximise everything you can about it. You've got happy customers. What's not to like? Just now you've got really unhappy customers, and that makes it much harder to keep your business going.
Yeah, I mean, my cousin, who's a really big Rangers fan, he goes to all the matches, but was messaging me live during the game yesterday, and he was saying to me stuff like, you own the pitch first of all. He said it's probably the worst Rangers team he's ever seen. He is quite a young guy, but even at that, he remembers going back and watching some of the old games and seeing some of the talent that Rangers had, to now watching this sort of stuff. And I don't think that's a very controversial point to say this is probably one of the worst Rangers teams ever. It's really bad to watch them right now, but also off the pitch, he's saying, but people are teasing, new Rangers kits, new season tickets, and all this hospitality at Ibrox. What Rangers fan right now is going to look at that and go, I want to spend more of my money, my hard-earned money on the season ticket, kits, hospitality, doing all that stuff for the club? But I mean, I get it, right? We all love our clubs, respectively, we'd all pay the money, but
I would say that's the only reason they brought in Barry Ferguson, to try and rouse around the fans and go, buy a season ticket, but Barry will be here and you'll sell at the place for the next 10 games.
Even like my cousin, who's been going to games for a good few years now, he doesn't even want to go to Ibrox anymore. Even with Ferguson in charge, he went to obviously Ferguson's first game at home, but even he's said now, he's just completely chucked it. And I'm not surprised to be sitting that far behind Celtic. It should not be happening with Rangers ever. This is a Rangers that they shouldn't be in a situation like this. So I can understand the fans' frustration. I just, again, even after the 10 games, if Ferguson doesn't, stay in charge, what fans are going to want to dig out money for season tickets, European fixtures, when they know they're going to be right behind Celtic for most of these seasons?
Yeah, the other problem they've got is the next game just happens to be at Celtic Park.
Yep.
I was just going to say, guys, right, and Reagan made that point for me as well, that it's funny how the season ticket, they knew they were coming out and they've appointed Ferguson and Billy Dawes and Neil McCann as well, right? But if I was a Rangers fan, and I know quite a few Rangers fans, they are kind of like annoyed at the board at Rangers are kind of appointing them, because that's like Henrik Larsson going back to Celtic, or a St Mirren great, or St Johnson great going back to the club. I mean, first of all, it's too early for him in his manager career to go back to kind of like Ibrox. But yeah, I mean, I think as well, Alistair, that the Rangers board, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing at the moment. You know, and I made this point when Clement was in charge as well, that he was a face of Rangers. He was coming out to answer questions about the board, and it shouldn't be his position that the board should be coming out to make statements as well. So, you know, this is where I would maybe cut Clement a bit of slack in terms of he was a face of Rangers as well. You know, albeit the football wasn't good and the style of play, I don't know what style he was going to play. I don't know if it was football or anything. But I mean, I think the board have run Clement under a bus, and I would say the same as Ferguson as well a wee bit.
I think, I don't know is the short answer, because we don't really know what's, well, obviously, excuse me, we know there's changes afoot at Rangers. If you think about it, if these guys, the Americans, are coming in, they'll be doing all their due diligence, they'll have done it, all that stuff will be happening just now, so we just don't know where this is going to go. They could bring in a lot more money, which might make a difference. But I actually think the critical thing for Rangers, if I was a Rangers fan just now, the one thing I'm looking forward to is the possibility of beating Celtic in the next Old Firm game. If they do that, they're, you know, you can imagine Barry Ferguson will be all over the place, and quite rightly so. He's a Rangers fan. Why should he not be? That actually would almost cover up so much of what's wrong. I've no axe to grind for either, and the game will go how it goes. But if Rangers manage to win it, then the fans will be happy for a bit. If they lose it, people will turn around and go, hang on a second, Clement beat Celtic the last game. You know, we're going backwards.
And the
problem
as well, sorry Michael to jump in there, but the problem is, Alistair, was that people expected them to go in there with 2 wins, but now if he loses back to back, then it's a sort of even more pressure on them, because that'll be 20 points that they'll be behind Celtic.
Yeah, and they lost it. I mean, obviously St Mirren. I mean, watching the highlights from the St Mirren game yesterday, Robbie, your team should have scored a barrel load of goals. You know, so I'm not surprised that they beat Rangers, because St Mirren on their day are really, if they're playing well, they're a really, really good team, and they could have actually scored a lot. Well, I would say they should have scored more goals against Celtic, which would have been a much more entertaining game, and goodness knows how it would have gone. So it's no disgrace to lose a St Mirren team who are playing well. If they're on their day, as I said, they'll give anybody a hard time. But I think it's the fact that you look at that plus Queen's Park. If you're a Rangers fan, you look at this and go, this does not happen to Rangers. This is not what should be happening. And imagine the boot was on their feet. Imagine it's Celtic. You know, you guys are Celtic fans. You'd be raging as well. And I've been to games at Parkhead when Celtic were doing really badly, and there was maybe 20,000 people there playing St Johnstone in a very boring draw, but that's by the by. So fans are fickle. They can easily enough, you know, turn it on its head. So if they beat Celtic, Rangers will be cock-a-hoot for a bit, but they're still not going to win the league. You know?
Yeah, I mean, Michael, sorry, just quickly on your Clement point, I think you're right. Look, I don't think harsh is the right word to sack Clement. I think after the Queen's Park game, the St Mirren game, it had to happen. It had to be sacked, which is unfortunate for him. But I think you're right. You know, he's a high reputation manager. You know, there's a reason why he done quite well at Monaco. And you know, the short time he spent there, I think he came into Rangers with a high reputation that, you know, he could deliver something. But I think this just shows that no manager can take this job and really turn Rangers around right now. That's the situation then. You know, it's more than the players.
I think it's a bit like this Spurs situation down there. Spurs go out there and they get Conte, they get Mourinho, they get Ange, and they still kind of win. And the fact that Rangers have went for everybody's prodigal son, Michael Beale, we went for him because they thought, Michael Beale was the brains behind Gerrard. And then they go for a European manager that won at Monaco, won at Bruges, and he still kind of do well at Rangers. I think the big thing for me that Clement didn't get, I don't think Clement really understood the magnitude of Rangers. Like, of course, he may have at a point in time, but that Queen's Park result should never have happened. I mean, it's okay us talking about the Scottish football things happen, but if you're a Rangers manager, you should be going in there demanding and saying, that should never happen. You need to go out there second half and get a better result. And for him to come out there and go, well, we had 30 shots at goal, we done this, we done that. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable.
See, I know what you're saying, Reagan, like, but I would take maybe argument with you as well, because surely I know the manager has the final say, and he gets the sack and all that kind of stuff. But surely the team's got to take some responsibility as well.
I definitely they've got to take responsibility, but the players need to know that it's not acceptable. I mean, people like Tavernier, right? This guy's been nowhere near Rangers this season. I said that during when we come back, there was talk I'm going to Turkey with John Lundstrom and stuff like that, and I said it's a great idea because he's overstayed his welcome. Rangers have won 3 trophies out of 42. That's not acceptable for the landscape of Scottish football. And I still don't understand why James Tavernier's in the Rangers Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Reagan, your point on just quickly, your point on European managers. I think Rangers had a manager there that wasn't Bill or Gerrard or Clement. I think Giovanni was potentially the right man to carry Rangers forward. I think if you look at what he took with that Rangers team, how actually impressive he was, I think that was, the small glimpse of a Rangers team that was exciting to watch. Giovanni knew what it meant to be a Rangers manager. I think that was probably the one they probably should have stuck by.
Yep. Before we get stick from Murrow fans, by the way, I've got to talk about Murrow now. They won 2-1 yesterday, Robbie. But we saw the highlights. Reagan was the only one that saw the 90 minutes. But I'm very impressed by the new Murrow manager, or else I'm going to call him Michael Winner now.
Well, I think to give him credit, he went there. We spoke about the show on Friday, but you need to go there with confidence that you can take on this Rangers team. I think he set his team up to do that. I don't think that's to a defensive team. Obviously, they need to do a lot of work in the back, but going forward, I think even though they only scored 2, they caused Rangers a lot of problems in that first half. I think Armstrong would probably be the first to admit he got a wee bit lucky with that first goal. Obviously, quite a bad Jack Butland mistake. So I think he found himself saying it was unlucky, but well deserved. I thought the first 10 minutes Motherwell were superb. Again, it comes down to that, even before the game kicks off, Rangers are coming out of the tunnel and they look nervous. I mean, that just should never be happening. Rangers, if you're a Rangers player, you should be hearing simply the best and walking out and feeling confident and going, we can go and win this game. But it's actually Motherwell hearing that song and going, right, we can go on and win this. We're confident here. Again, I mentioned it earlier, Balcom, I don't think he had too much to do. Although Rangers had the majority of the shots, I think everything was just straight at him. So I think his work was made easy. And I actually think the defence didn't have much to do either. I just thought, again, it was another really weak Rangers performance where either have made the ball, but they don't really do much with it.
Yeah, I think to be fair, there was that massive stramash where everybody was blocking the ball. But apart from that, you're right. I mean, and you'll get that in a game. You'll get similar. You've got to defend, and you'll get a bit of luck or whatever else as a defensive team. And another day the ball goes in the net and the game changes. But they didn't. They kept it out, and they deserve to win. I mean, it's easy to say that the team that has won deserved to win, and that's not always the case. But I think probably in this case it was, because you're looking at a Rangers team, as we've said at length, that really just isn't quite there just now. And I think we need to probably concentrate more on Motherwell, because if I was a Motherwell fan watching this, I'd be going, hang on a second, guys, we won, not Rangers. The fact is that there's more interest in Rangers to some extent because of the size of the club, And I mean, I would much rather talk about St Mirren, as I said, because I think St Mirren, I mean, obviously, if they're not on their day, then they get beaten by rubbish teams like us. But if they are on their day, they're a brilliant team and they're very good going forward. And you could see the way they played against Celtic. I think they deserve to score more goals. They might still have lost, but that's the kind of team. If I was a St Mirren fan, I'd be. I don't know what you think. You're a St Mirren fan of him. Watching that, you must be pleased. That's a team that performed well against a massive team with far more resources, which obviously outgunned you at the end. But the St Mirren were great.
No, I mean, obviously we're getting to talk about the game and stuff. I mean, when you're there, I think the whole season we can be proud of the way we're playing. Like, I know where we're sitting right now, and it doesn't look great on paper, but if you watch some of these games, we're playing really well, and the results just aren't coming. So, I mean, you can always take positives out of performances. You know what you're going to get with a Robinson team, and I think it was positive. there's obviously one very obvious decision that changes the game last night. We'll obviously touch on that, but I still even think up until that point, for the first 60, 70 minutes, I thought we were all Celtic. I don't think they really knew what hit them.
So before we move on to St Mirren and Celtic in a minute, Alaska, it's the last thing Rangers fans would want me to talk about, but they've got a big game in first night against Galatasaray, and looking at
it's
Fenerbahce, yeah, and yeah, I'm having a nightmare today. But you would. Rangers fans would not want to qualify for the next round, looking at that game, especially away from home in first night.
It'll be interesting because obviously they're not going into it in a good place, and the thing is they've been good in Europe, but that's been good under Clement. So let's see what Barry Ferguson, what difference he makes. I mean, if any. My gut feel is it won't make any great difference because we've kind of seen the two sides, and they came back against Kilmarnock. They didn't come back against Motherwell. And Fenerbahce, with the greatest respect to those other two Scottish clubs I mentioned, are better than they are. The top Turkish teams are good. And depending on where they are, sometimes they're very, very good. Galatasaray obviously got a good record,
I'm just ready to write the headline for Thursday's show. Turkish delight for Rangers.
Vag.
I mean, look, you're looking at a Fenerbahce team that are managed by probably one of the best, one of the best managers to ever play the game. I mean, look, I know Mourinho's got I believe it's a touchline ban in the domestic league in Turkey, but I think he's still out for the European game. So I mean, that adds even more for him. He'll want to go out there and he'll want to do well against Rangers. And I think if I'm assuming Jose doesn't watch Rangers every week, but I'm assuming if somebody showed him the stats map and showed him Rangers form, he'd probably be, I never think it's an easy one, but he'll be thinking, right, we can go here and we can cause Rangers problems, and when they come to us, we'll cause them problems as well. So I think Fenerbahce will be confident, but like you guys have said it, if you take in European form, Rangers are very good in Europe. That's what the team's built around. That's how they know how to play. So I think you're right, Alistair. I don't think it will be too different to Clement's, European Rangers. But
I just can't wait to see. I just can't wait to see Barry Ferguson do a tactical masterclass on Jose Mourinho.
I think we should park that one then, because we're born on first night, and we can talk about the Rangers as well on first night. We're wearing at 4:45 for the build up. And after the game at 8 o'clock as well. Right, let's go on to St Mirren Park last night. I quite enjoyed this game, actually. St Mirren 2, Celtic 5. Robbie, we were at the game, and I don't know about you, but St Mirren played brilliant football. And I know you put in the chat the kind of group chat half time. St Mirren had got a lot of chances. But the bottom line is, if you don't, the aim of the game is to put the ball in the back of the net. But would you kind of agree with me that when Celtic made the subs, that kind of changed the game for Celtic?
The subs completely changed the game for Celtic. I think it was Jan McCowan and Jota that came on all at the same time. And, when we're bringing on guys like James Scott, and it's no disrespect to Scott, I don't think he'll be quality or yet but it just shows the difference in level between both clubs. But I think you're right, Michael, on, especially the first half. I try not to game too much on stats and on paper because it's obviously played on the pitch. If you look at half time, we've hit 8 shots and Celtic have hit 6. I mean, look, I don't like being too much on the stats, but when does that ever happen? We never tend to have more shots than Celtic whenever we play them. So, I mean, even on the park as well, I was really impressed with the way we were. In that first half, I thought we set ourselves up really, really well. Again, it was just disappointing the way the Celtic goal came, push luck. I thought, Ali Biosa, I've been really impressed with him, but he's an attacking fullback. So when he drops back, you can see how narrow the defence actually was. For playing a back sort of 5, we were so narrow in the side of the box and just gave Slot the freedom of Paisley. So it was a pretty easy goal for Celtic. But I mean, look, Declan John's free kick. Wow.
That was a belter.
Great goal. I would probably say 2 of the goals were brilliant, Robbie. The first goal for Celtic was a great goal, and then the Declan John free kick was just amazing.
Aye. On obviously the big player for this match, Olasanya. I mean, how many chances do I miss? I mean, seriously, I get it, right? And we say this about Dessers all the time, that he's not going to score every chance, and there's a reason he's playing in this league. And I get that with Olasanya, there is a reason he's playing at St Mirren. But you simply cannot miss that many chances when you're playing a team like Celtic. I mean, the one-on-one that he had against Kasper Schmeichel in the first half when he gets slipped through, he's got to score that. There's no need. I cannot believe he's hit that straight at Kasper Schmeichel.
I mean, Schmeichel's a really good goalkeeper, and that's the other thing, is that when you've got a really good goalkeeper, he'll make saves which other keepers wouldn't make. If that was, dare I say it, Josh Ray, who's away on loan now, I mean, that'd been a goal, because the keepers aren't that good. But you're right. You're right. You'd expect more often than not you'd have had more goals from the chances you had than you actually got, and that's partly down to finishing wasn't quite right or whatever else. So the keeper makes a good save. If the keeper makes a good save, then I think you can go, okay, that's fair enough. You know, if the guy claws the ball away from the top corner, you've done everything you can. But you kind of hope that it would win. You know, turn it around on its head. If it was one of the Celtic forwards 3-1-1, you'd probably expect them to score.
Yeah, I think any of the Celtic front three scores that, to be honest. I mean, like, another striker that we had, Mandron. I mean, I don't know about you guys when you're watching the game, but I know we spoke about, obviously, Celtic good subs. I thought when we took Mandron off, we actually got worse. I think Mandron's a player that gives you so much in the game. You know, he's no going to be like Olasanya where he's running through getting one-on-one chances, but the work he does off the ball and the running he does, it was superb to watch, in my opinion. So I think when we actually took him off, we actually got pretty worse in that sort of sense. But I mean, the second goal for us, you know, just after half time, I'm not going to touch on the penalty now because I have quite a lot to say on that penalty. But I don't even think Phillips means to hit the ball like that. Honestly, I think if you watch the way he does it, it would never have wanted that. But it ended up in. I mean, Reagan, you're the Celtic fan here. I mean, I don't know what you thought, but I thought Schmeichel could have done a lot better with his positioning for that goal.
I am. You talking about for the free kick?
No, the Killian Phillips, the second goal, just at the start of the second half.
I think he could have done better with it, but I think because of the deflection, it just takes away from him. But I think you're probably right there, Robbie, but I think with the deflection there, that probably helps it.
Nah, that's fair enough. But I mean, we said that the Celtic subs, they changed the game. You know, when Yang comes on, I mean, what a player he's turned out to be for Celtic. When a lot of people wrote him off, he's really stepped up. The first goal we scored, the header, it was amazing movement off the ball. I mean, he completely dropped, I think it was Declan John, left wing back. He completely, you know, runs away from him, and John doesn't even realise. So I think he done well. But look, if you don't take your chances, that's what's going to happen to you. Celtic's going to, you know, gain the confidence and go and get the win. That's just how it works. But obviously, I think the penalty's the main shifting point.
Go for it.
Okay, let's go on to the penalty. We've now extended the show until Tuesday, Robbie. So speak away.
I mean, it's hard to, you know, not just say what Graham sort of touched on, but it is a really poor decision. I mean, first of all, the referee, for where he is at the time, gets a really, really good view of that. And he doesn't even really know what's happening. But when that goes to VAR, how is that not been awarded for a penalty? I cannot believe. And I feel like it's happening to us every week. It's happened to us against Hearts. It's now happened to us against Celtic. It just feels like someone are getting picked on. Obviously, it happens to other clubs as well, but you can't help but feel that way. I don't even know what else to really say. It's just a stone wall. That's all you can say. You know, there's no point in me going ranting and raving, going, "Oh, it's every year's rubbish and all this and that." Look, we know it's bad, but we know the referees aren't great in this country. So, am I surprised that it didn't get gained? No, what the last few weeks have shown, but it should have been getting a penalty. And I think, as I said, look, that's when the game changes. If we get the penalty and we score that, the game completely shifts. I don't think Celtic have that much confidence to go in and get the goals that they go. So that was a real crucial moment in the game.
I don't know if you agree as well, Robbie. The fact that VR's there as well. I know we're going about VR, but that's the clear, obvious errors that they should pick up. if the referee's got a good position and he still can't make his mind up, I can see it in the pub, and I'm like that. It's a definite penalty. That'll go to VAR, and it'll be a penalty.
Aye, 100%. I mean, aye, it is. It's a clear and obvious one that VAR should be getting right. I don't think it should go as far as VAR. Honestly, I think if you go back and watch it with the referee and the linesman, I know the linesman was at the other side of the pitch, so he wasn't exactly close to it. But I think if you look where both of them are, one of them's got to get that right.
Absolutely, yeah. There's just no doubt about it. I mean, it's almost one of these things that's not worth debating, because when you see it, if it wasn't in the penalty box, it would have been a booking for, and you can hear the guys on the television, the pundits going, "Oh yeah, it was reckless," and it was out. Of course it was. It was a penalty. End of story. I mean, it was a much. I would not say even more, but you didn't get one against us as well, Robbie, which you probably should have. So maybe there is a conspiracy. So I just think it to my mind says, yes, we haven't got very good referees just now. I think there's an element of truth about that, and I'm very pro referees generally and supportive, but clearly VAR is not working, and I've said this for ages. Just put it in the bin and let's go and enjoy the game,
But as we've said with days before, Alistair, I mean, if we for instance say to Matthew McDermott, who's the referee yesterday, right, Matthew, you're not going to be refereeing for a month, there'll be nobody else to pick up the game.
But there aren't enough referees. That's the problem, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. There's just not enough. There's not enough good referees. There's not enough referees. Full stop.
Because I mean that's the point, Alistair. Because going back to the game today, John Beaton was the ref, but also was not on VAR at Ross County Camargue yesterday. So that proves your point that there's not enough refs in Scotland.
There's simply not at any level. You speak to people in the football authorities, which I do with my SFSA hat on, and they say that. We know that's the case. And it's partly because you look at the abuse they get. I mean, sorry, we're going off a wee rabbit hole here, but people from our organisation talking to football authorities at the Congress at Hampden last week, and they had a special discussion about schools football. And basically what they're saying is that the problems are shocking, from parents and abuse to referees and players, and it's getting worse. So why would you want to be a referee in those circumstances? It's really, really hard,
Sorry, what I would say on that is that's a very good point. I go to most home matches, I sit right behind the linesman, and I'll there's obviously you get the ones that are going to shout at the linesman, the referee. It happens at every club, but I often sit and think, like, I often try and take it to the linesman and ref's point of view. Like, I get it. Look, the referees in this country are trying the hardest. I get that. It's obviously frustrating when they make mistakes. But what I would say to people is, if you're going to, hound these guys and give them stick each game, who's going to want to become a referee and linesman? Who actually who goes to these games growing up and goes, I want to be one of these guys? Because I look at it and go, I would hate to be that referee on the pitch, getting all the sticks. So there's a reason. There's a clear reason why there's not enough referees, and I think until we can get it sorted, which I wouldn't even know how to approach that, but until we can get it sorted, it's just going to become the norm, really, in Scottish football.
Going back to sorry, Alistair.
You go.
No, I was just going to say, just to run us back to the game yesterday, but does that show you? Alistair's a Johnson's fan, as you maybe not know, and Robbie's a big Saints fan as well. But does that show you the standard of Celtic bench compared to the rest of the teams in the league?
But that's a problem, which actually comes back to refereeing again, because IFAB, who I posted some stuff on the SFA website about the latest ideas from Arsene Wenger. And I said, if one of these clowns going to stop interfering in our game, and some people came on and took issue with us. I didn't know it's me, obviously, because it's under the SFSA. But they also don't know that I know quite a lot about this stuff. And when they changed, if you remember, this came in England and they wanted to change it so you get 5 substitutes, and everyone said, that's not fair. It's just going to benefit the big teams because they've got bigger squads. That's what's happening. That's one of the reasons why, going back to the Celtics and Mirren game, they were able to bring on better players, and that turned the game for them. If you're only allowed 3 subs, then it becomes a totally different game, and that's the game we've been used to for a long time. So I think some of the key decisions watching the game again today, the second half, you could see the Hearts players putting their hands behind their back, despite the fact they've been told by referees that they don't have to do that. They need to get on top of this because they've interfered with the laws of the game so much now that it's a complete joke, in my view. So that also applies to the number of substitutes. It's grossly unfair on the smaller clubs when you've got a club the size of Celtic or Rangers or indeed in England, Liverpool or however else, you've got much stronger benches and they can bring on 5 subs. Just not fair.
I mean, Alistair, I think you're spot on there. The laws of the game is getting changed so much. I mean, I don't know. I don't know too much about this. I've read a few articles. I don't know if it's coming to Scottish football, but I think there's a new rule with goalkeepers that if they don't distribute the ball inside 8 seconds, the opposition team's going to get a corner. I mean, I don't know if that's going to come to Scottish football at any point, but wow.
I think some of the stuff they're talking about, I mean, the stuff that's actually being signed off is not too bad. Some of them are the ideas of changing offside, so it's got to be, somebody clearly offside as opposed to just a toenail. But the ideas of letting managers have challenge VAR, say, I want to challenge that decision, we've got to go back to VAR. We're stopping the game even more. We're breaking it up. No fans are voting for this. No fans are being consulted with this. It's just, this is what the SFSA exists to be, a trade union for fans. It's simply wrong that these guys are forcing change on fans, which I don't think fans want.
I mean, I remember at I can't remember what World Cup it was, and they had the rule that every time the ball went out of play, they added on minutes on extra time. And I sort of sat and thought, we're going to get to a stage in the game where that, this was also before a VAR argument in Scottish football, but I knew at that time we were going to get to a point where stuff would come into the game, it's going to get slowed down, there's going to be about 20 minutes extra time per game, and you've seen that at that World Cup. There was about 14 minutes of added time in each group stage game. I was like, we spoke about all the time on the show about players' fitness and them, managers and players complaining about how many games they're playing. It's only getting longer each game.
Yeah, Robbie, one of the proposals that Wenger's made is that the referee should actually stop the clock when these things happen, which is what you're talking about. And will be 20 minutes more and people will be missing their buses. The pubs will be shut by the time the game's finished, Now, that would be a deal breaker. Short of fans walking away, nothing's going to change. But fans won't walk away because we want to go and see the game. So it's a really weird industry which doesn't listen to its customers. This one doesn't on these big things. And it's wrong.
I made the point a few months ago, guys, as well, and people laughed at me. But when you look at the VAR taking over the game as well, it's going to turn into American football.
Well, to be honest with you, I would quite like it in American football in the sense I would quite like it as if we had some sort of delegation of what's happening during VAR. Because you look at that incident during the week, Dundee United against Hibs. I don't know if you see it, Robbie, but Dundee United score, and then it goes to VAR for about 10 minutes, and that all changes the whole momentum of the game because everybody in the stadium's all jumping about, going crazy. That's us scored 2-0 up, and then 2 minutes later they go with that. Oh, we don't know, and then everybody's waiting about for about 10 minutes, and then the whole momentum of the game changes. Nobody in the stadium knows what's happening. They've not explained anything, and then Hibs go and win the game 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, with this, show on YouTube that Willie Collum does, we need to wait a while for these decisions to actually see what the VAR referees are saying. I think you're spot on. I mean, I think every fan has a right to know, but as Alistair says, the game's becoming less and less fan involved as time goes on. It seems like we're getting further away from being able to know what's actually happening on the pitch. So, I think
to Dundee United, the man in question that Sam Dobby's goal was taken to VAR the other night, get chopped off, but he scored for Jay Regan 2-0 to Dundee United. There you go. And as we gave it the big build up, Reagan's turned it off and he's watching the horse racing or something. But yeah, it's 2-0 to Dundee United against Aberdeen. That is half time up at Picoglia, and a big fleet. A good win so far for Dundee United. Robbie, you'll like that one.
Oh my God! I mean, look, credit to Dundee United because actually going into that game, Aberdeen looked maybe the better side, but Dundee United are proving again why they're up in the top six in their first season back. It's been an incredible season for them. I maybe fancy Aberdeen to maybe drop at the top six, depending on how results go in these last 4 games. I really don't see them being able to pick up some sort of consistency for the rest of the season. I could be right. They probably will hang on to the top six, but I don't think so. But back to my point, I think Alistair, you're spot on. I think the fans are becoming less and less involved, and I actually feel like managers are becoming less and less involved as well in these games. I was watching Robinson closely yesterday, and he's trying to speak to the fourth official during the game and try to speak to people, and he's not getting an answer after these guys. These guys are being like, "No, go back to your boats, go and stand there." When he's just trying to get answers. I think. And it's not even just at points either. Like, I can understand a fourth official pushing someone away if they're showing a wee bit of aggression and emotion, which Robinson's done many a time. I know how passionate he can get, but there's times where he's just genuinely wondering what's going on, and nobody will really tell him the answer. So I think there's frustration, not just for the fans. And look, we should be the first. We should be the first thought of in these games. It's our game. We should be able to have a say. We don't, unfortunately, much anymore. But I think it's also bad for the managers that they're becoming a wee bit clueless as well.
Michael, can I just say that it's 4 o'clock and I'm going to head off, so I'm very grateful you haven't mentioned the St Johnstone Dundee game.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, we were just going to mention the St Johnstone game, but yeah, if you, I know that you've got to go.
I've got to head, but what I will say is that we were the better team in the first half, and that's 9 times we've lost a goal within 5 minutes of scoring this season, and we did it again. And then Dundee in the second half of the better team, and on another day we'd have won. And the bizarre pass back thing was, we got away with that, but it's probably a better point for us than Dundee, I think, although I'd rather have won. But we've got Aberdeen next at Perth, so that'll be quite an interesting one.
Yeah, so sorry about that, Alistair. Yeah, we were just going to come on to that game. If you can stay with us for a few minutes, or have you got to?
I'll give you. I've got a couple of minutes, and then I'll get divorced. So you better hurry up. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what would you rather have? Yeah. So that was the Celtic game last night. Let's move on to Alistair's game yesterday. Well, Alistair wasn't involved in the. Well, he was involved, but in the game, Dundee won. St Johnstone won.
I was thoroughly involved. I would shout lots of helpful advice to St Johnstone players, most of which they know.
And it began with F.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I may say the bar in the Cleckington Road's a good place to go for a beer beforehand, but that's by the by. There was 1,800 Saints fans. Big
yeah,
crowd.
It was brilliant. I mean, just before we talk about the game, I'm not being fun here, but I've never saw an away support like that for St Johnstone before. I don't know if that's getting to buy into Valacari's style of football.
No, it's quite simple. When I got my ticket, which is before the Ross County game, there was still quite a lot of seats available. After the Ross County game, an awful lot of people bought tickets. So, and I was talking to Bev before the game, and she said it's 1,800. So, well, you could see it in the place, and there was nearly 8,000 the whole ground. So it was a big crowd all around. And it is our derby. More Dundee, obviously, it's the United game, but it's our derby, so that always helps. The fact that we had the chance of clawing back, getting back to parity with Dundee in terms of points made a big difference. And when we scored, Sidibe missed the sitter before that, but when we scored, you kind of thought 5 minutes at half time, just hold out. And Sidibe was actually at the supporters thing at night, and one of my friends was talking to him, and he said the players at halftime could hardly speak. They were just so sort of gutted by having lost the goal 2 minutes before halftime.
Robbie, we spoke on Friday about Dundee, and I think the whole team was so surprised about Dundee at the bottom of the league, considering that Tony Dock has done a brilliant job.
I mean, it's a great result for St Johnstone. Away at a tough ground at Dens. No matter how bad Dundee are playing, it's always going to be tough there. So full credit to St Johnstone for going up and getting a point. But for Dundee, I mean, they just need as many points as possible. I know they play us very soon at Dens as well, so I think they've got quite a tough run, and I think they've got Rangers in that as well. So I think it'll be tough. But look, Dundee have the quality, and Alice, I know you're short on time. I just want to ask you one quick question before you go. I mentioned on the show on Friday about Valakari and how impressive he's been. I mean, if you asked us at Johnson fan a couple of months ago, they probably would have said, right, we're more likely preparing for the Championship. Now you have a real chance to stay up in this league. I mean, how confident are you feeling as a St Johnson fan that you can do this?
Well, a lot more confident than I was over Christmas and New Year, because then I thought we had no chance. I would still say we're still the favourites to go down, just simply because of where we are. But the general, every Saints fan you talk to says if we can keep the gap to 3 points going into the last, post split, and you're playing the teams, the bottom 5 teams, then we've got a chance. If it's 6 points, we're probably gone. But if you can keep it to 3 points and then you get a couple of wins and somebody, obviously other teams have got to lose, you're looking at maybe winning 3 of the 5 games. Now that's very, very hard, but we are playing decent enough football. That's the other thing. But the new boy, Zach Mitchell, who's on loan from Charlton, he's a really good footballer at this level. I mean, he's just on loan for the rest of the season, but I would love to keep him. There's no way we will. He's a quality centre half. We're playing better football. We're still favourites to go down. If we're 3 points adrift at the gap, then we've got a chance. But other than that, my wife had just knocked on the door, so I'm going to head off. Otherwise, there will be grief. But thank you for your company, gents, and thank you for not talking too much about St Johnson. But it was good fun. Enjoyed that, and hopefully those guys watching did as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
See ya.
Cheers, then. Cheers.
There we go. Robbie, we've kind of ran over a wee bit in the game today about the Hibs and Hearts game as well. But yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I don't know if you saw the highlights of this one, but I mean, it wasn't a classic game.
No, to be honest, with the way both teams have sort of been this season, I don't think it was going to be a classic. It was kind of scrappy. I don't think, there's a lot of pitches this season, Mike. I don't know if you've noticed this, obviously outside the sort of top 4. A lot of the pitches are bad this season. They're really, really mucky and just look horrible to play on. So I think, between now and the end of the season, you're probably going to find a lot of games will be like that. It's a sort of slugfest, there'll not be many goals. It'll sort of be direct play. But I don't know if you noticed that as well.
I think the Ross County pitch is the worst one, and I've never saw Dingwall like that before, Robbie. I mean, I know it's got obviously we'll go on to talk about the game against Kilmarnock, but I know it's got the other week against, what was it, Celtic up at Dingwall.
Yeah, I remember the Celtic game. It was it John? I remember the ones more specifically during the winter times with the pitch up in Dingwall where the pitch was basically frozen over. I mean, there was
that was a Celtic game, Robbie, because you saw the teams warming up and you thought it was kind of ice in the park.
Aye, I mean, there was a few Ross County fans, I think, saying before the game, I can't believe this has actually gone ahead. But obviously, I think the pitch sort of softened up a wee bit as the game went on. But I mean, Reggie, I don't know about you as well. If you've noticed a lot of these pitches, like at Dens Park for that St Johnson game, a lot of the pitches, apart from the big 4, they're really mucky and look really tough to play on.
Aye, they are, and it's down to the clubs to try and make them better. I know a few of the clubs have tried the under soil heating and things like that to try and make things better, but there needs to be a solution to this. But obviously, we've got the weather as well, so we can't really predict it either.
Sorry, I just want to ask a quick question, guys. I mean, look, on these pitches, obviously it's tough to get them fixed when the conditions are so horrible up here. But I don't know if you've heard the question that the interviewer asked David Martindale, and Martindale was very vocal, and why are we trying to get rid of Astro pitches if that this is what the grass pitches are like? For the example of the Pacific game. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
I think he was just trying to be say, well, don't blame our Astro pitch, but I think he's just being biased towards his Astro pitch, because to me they're not good to watch on. They're not good for Scottish football. I don't think he'd be saying it if Livingston had a lot of money and they were and they had a grass pitch. I think he's only saying it from a biased point of view.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think, Robbie, you're going to have David Martindale coming and slagging the park off. I mean, I think Reagan's right there because he's never going to come out and say that. Obviously, he's going to be biased, but I think I know that we speak about these kind of like surfaces and football should be plaguing the real stuff as well. But I mean, if you watch the kind of like Race Rovers game or whatever, right, you wouldn't think that was on artificial grass, would you?
Nah, and
Because that's one of the that kind of I wouldn't say best surfaces, or
I think it is one of the better ones, but also you look at them and the injuries, you look at the health conditions that the actual players can have.
Mhm.
Robbie, I mean, I'm not going to say some stuff that might upset some clubs, but there's clear things that it can cause injury, it can cause uh, health conditions as well. So I just don't see how that people can say that astro pitches are a good thing. And also, it's no great if you're watching on Sky Sports or Premier Sports if you're watching a match.
yeah, I mean, Reagan, I think you're right there. There has been a couple of times. I mean, look, I don't even think there should be a discussion. I don't think, we should be in a league where our top two divisions still have, no every club has a grass pitch. I think they all should have one at this point in the league, but that's just the way it is. I know Kilmarnock, they're close to getting rid of theirs, I believe. So I think the Premiership anyway is becoming close to becoming an all grass pitch, which again, as you've mentioned, will improve the standard. The astro pitches can be dangerous to play on. They're no easy to play at all. So I think you're spot on there, Regan.
I mean, go back to the game yesterday, guys, before we move on to speak about the county game and the Kilmarnock game. Fun enough, we were talking about Plastic Parks, but that's the Plastic Parks derby, as it were. I put Ross County against Kilmarnock. But I mean, Dundee. I mean, I know we spoke about St Johnstone early on when Alistair was on, but Reagan, I mean, I've been very surprised at Dundee this season, but I think Robbie made the point on Friday about Dundee was a good team, and the still is a good team. But I mean, look at Cameron, look at Luke McCowan. That's two key players out the team. And okay, Cameron's still there, but he's saying a pre-contract for Rangers. But it just shows you if you take two or three team players out the team, it's a totally different team.
Especially for a club like Dundee, no disrespect to them, but they've not got loads of money to go and spend on like new players if like a Rangers or a Celtic or Aberdeen potentially have. So I think you probably see it more. But I think Tony Doggie's still doing a good job. I just think that in terms of this season, I think clubs have got better. I don't know if you agree, Robbie, but I think the standards got a lot better this season.
Yeah, I think I briefly mentioned in the show on Friday as well that when I was looking at sort of us, Dundee and Kilmarnock, I sort of thought, right, I don't think any of us will particularly be in a relegation fight, which I suppose you could argue Dundee sort of now. But I thought at the time, you look last season, by this point, your Hibs and Aberdeens, they were in the bottom six and you knew they were going to stay there, they weren't moving. So you always knew going into this season they would probably get better. I don't think it could have get any worse for Aberdeen, to be honest, especially now after Warnock was at the helm. But I think that they could definitely get stronger. And that's not necessarily to say either, by the way, that Dundee, Kilmarnock or us get any weaker. I just think with the finances that the Aberdeens and the Hibs have, that clubs like us can't really compete with that, to be honest.
Right, let's go to the final game yesterday. It's the Plastic Park derby, as it were. Ross County won Kilmarnock. Now, it was a big win for Ross County, Reagan as well. But I mean, Kilmarnock, it's been a difficult week for Kilmarnock because I mean they were beating Rangers 2-0, and obviously Rangers ran out comfortable winners in the end. But it's a difficult week in terms of like they put a lot into that game on Wednesday night. I mean, we'd done the show on Wednesday, and they put a lot into the game. Then they kept getting beat, and then they took a long way up to Dingwall and they get beat 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of Kilmarnock, they'll be disappointed how this season's went, because I think Derek McInnes has been renowned over the past couple of years. You guys, in terms of making sure Kilmarnock are in the top 6, they were in Europe this season as well. So he would have been hoping there would have been something better, but I think there still wouldn't be a chance in top 6. But I think after yesterday, it's really down their chances.
Robbie?
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think McInnes will be really disappointed in this team season. It was such a high start. I remember watching, I can't remember what game it was they played in Europe, and they put in, I think it was the first qualifier, and they put in a really good performance. And I sort of looked at that Kilmarnock team and I went, this is a Kilmarnock team that I now look at and go, they're good enough to be in the top 6 every season. They're good enough to compete with every team. They're still, I mean, looking at the team, they've still got a lot of quality players. They're just something doesn't seem right with the Kilmarnock team at the moment. I think after the 2-0, the second goal sort of went in against Rangers, I sort of looked and thought, this is a confidence turner and this is what it means. But when you concede 40 Rangers like that and lose the game, it's going to knock your confidence. And I think it probably has carried over to that game. And look, that's no taking away any credit for Ross County, because that's another win. They're only 2 points off of the top 6. Ross County fans must be loving life at the moment, but for Derek McInnes, it just doesn't seem to be happening this season.
Yep. So we'll finish up there then. Just to give you the up-to-date score in the Premiership today, 51-minute scoring up at Aberdeen. It's not going too well for Jimmy Carleen at home. It is the Jim Googling derby, 2-0 to Dundee United, 51-minute scoring. And we'll update you in the women's games today. Final scores from most of the games, apart from one game. Final score: Queen's Park 0, Packet Thistle 0. That was a big Glasgow derby, you would say, Reagan. Aberdeen 1, Spartans 0. Glasgow City 4, Motherwell 0. Dundee United 1, Monclose 3, and Rangers and Hearts finished 2 each. And also in a game just kicked off about 7 minutes ago, it's the Highbees, Hibs 0, Celtic 0. Reagan, I'm going to finish off on a bit of positive news for John Higgins. I don't know if you saw this yesterday.
Yeah, he won his 32nd ranking title.
I was quite pleased for him to win his first title in 4 years after winning 10-6 against Joe O'Connor in the World China Final Open. So big success for John Higgins there.
Massive. People say he would be jumping the queue, but yeah, he's doing well. And obviously he's playing well at the moment. I mean, in terms of John Higgins, I mean, he's done well over the years, but it's great to see him get back in some sort of form.
Sorry, Michael, just to say quickly, just to Motherwell women, I mean, congratulations to them. Obviously, first time in their history that they've been in the top 6. So obviously, it didn't go well today against a really good Glasgow City women's team. But
is that us making it up to Leanne Crichton because she works it as well?
Yeah, I was going to invite Glenn back on to apologise to Leanne Crichton there, but anyway, yeah. No, well said. Thanks to Graham, thanks to Robbie, thanks to Reagan, thanks to Alice. We had a full house today. Thanks for watching. We'll be back on Thursday night for not Galacasa Live. Fenerbahce against Rangers will be on at 4:45, and then after the game we'll be on at 8 o'clock to look back on that 19 minutes. So, if not, we'll be back next Friday with a big preview show and next Sunday as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon here in the locker room.
The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need. Bye.